Hello, friends, curious folks, and artists. So, this is Heather with The Gift in the Shadows, and I am going to be finishing this watercolor rose on video. Please like and share. It really helps my viewing for YouTube to put me out there. I'm also starting my Etsy shop. I'm on eBay right now. There's no success on eBay, but that's not eBay's fault. So let's get into it and let's start on finishing this rose. We've got the leaves in this area to do. We can see that up here. It's already done, and we've got some details in there. We may add some more details, but okay. I'm hoping you guys don't see me on camera because I'm having a bad day today. As far as headaches, sinus issues, it's Arizona wet weather, so to speak. Okay, this is my clean water. This is going to be my rinse water. So if you're doing watercolors, it's important to have two so that you don't pollute what's here. If you pollute what's in your palette, that's okay, because you can always use a damp brush to pull out some of that paint that you got in there. I'm a little different from most artists because I do not, for the most part, mix in a palette. I'll mix it on the water. If you hear whining in the background, that's just my rescue dog, River. She's awesome, but she is a total and complete attention hog. So if I'm not painting in my easy chair, my power recliner in the living room, she tends to get a little needy. So I apologize if you hear her. Music you hear in the background, I do need to disclose. This is Amazon music, and this is, I can't remember if it's a playlist or an actual station, but it's called Spa Day. I always like to put on something relaxing with no words when I'm doing art because it helps me just flow into this other world. Okay, again, this rose is finished. There are 3 different pink red colors in this rose. In addition, you can see some stippling and line work. This was all done with technical pens such as this one. This one happens to be a Roting. I'm obsessed with these for my artwork. So I have Rotring, I've got Kohinoor, I have Marsomatic by Stadler, and I just received Faber-Castell. They're really hard to come by, so I get everything on eBay. And the folks on eBay, if any of you are watching this that have sold me nibs, pens, there is one seller that actually sent me a bunch of nibs. Like, I asked if they had a particular size. They got back to me right away, said they didn't. And then like a week or 2 later, I went to my mailbox and there was a package from that seller, and it was just all kinds of nibs. And they didn't want any money for it or anything. So they were totally awesome. All right, getting into this. Sometimes I use wet on wet. Sometimes I just use wet on dry. This was done wet on wet because I wanted to get this gradient in here. I wanted this shadow to be more organic and not as stiff, but yet I wanted to achieve depth, so that's why I've got the ink work. This is, not all artists use ink work in their watercolors. I found an artist that I believe she has since passed away, but she's just phenomenal. Claudia Nice. I hope I'm pronouncing the last name right because it's spelled like nice. And when I say nice, it's American nice, N-I-S-E. So hopefully I'm saying that right. And it's not like French where it's supposed to be nice or near. So anyway, she used a lot of ink and pen, technical pen in her artwork. I really liked it, so I adapted it to my own style. So, okay, here we go. I like doing layering of colors because, and it's called glazing, because if you do glazing, you tend to get more luminous results. And we can see that we have some rose leaves here in the foreground. These are more detailed than, say, these, because I want these to be pushed back into the background. So when I push them back into the background, they're going to be paler and of less detail. That gives the illusion of depth in a painting. Today I'm using my Daniel Smith watercolor palette, and I think we are going to start these back ones with a very light wash of Cascade Green. And again, these are in the background, so we don't want a high pigment load. We don't want a lot of detail, so we're very, very sparing with the pigment. A lot of it is washed out with water, and that's okay. And you can see when I dropped in a little bit of paint, I'll do that again. See, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it blooms. It actually blossoms out. And that's because this paper was wet by me having a higher ratio of water to pigment. That helps it diffuse. So we're going to give it that little diffuse look. And it's okay to go outside of the ink outline, because again, this is in the background. Okay, I'm not going to rinse my brush. I'm going to go into a little Piedmont Genuine. It's from Daniel Smith's Primatech line, where everything, all of their pigments in that line are coming from minerals. I can't wait to get my hands on the Sleeping Beauty turquoise. Sleeping Beauty is located in my hometown of Old Miami. It's a beautiful turquoise blue, and to think that I can get a watercolor paint made from ground turquoise that was sourced from my hometown is amazing. But it's very expensive. So, and there's my dog barking because she's unhappy. She thinks somebody's in here and I'm talking to them. All right, let's go and do this next sleeve. Didn't get quite as much. There we go. Okay. So this painting I did backwards. I did the foreground before I did the background. That's generally a no-no, but I break the rules frequently and often. I live on the edge. So we have to be very careful around some of these small little details that came in. Okay. I like Cascade Green by Daniel Smith because it's got green, it's got some blue in it, it's got some gray. So I kind of dig that, especially for this that's pushed back here. It can definitely, you can have more saturated color with the Cascade Green. It's just right now I don't want to. Watercolors are very, very transparent. If you make a mistake, if it's light enough, you can soak it up with a paper towel. I prefer using shop towels. They're more durable, and I can actually rinse them out and reuse them several times. So while they're a little more expensive than paper towels, initially because you're going to reuse them so many times that you're actually going to be saving money. All right, here's another leaf. We're going to go back in that Piedmont. And all I'm doing, the Piedmont is like an orangish brown color. That's because, you know, I'm sure you've noticed on rose leaves that in general, some of them have a little tint of red or orange in them, especially after the rose has been harvested for a bouquet or whatever, or the leaves are starting to dry out and die. The other thing you have to be careful of in watercolor painting is your drying times. You don't want to go over something that is still very wet, because what you're going to do is you're just going to lift that pigment off the paper. And then you've ruined all your careful work to get that pigment on the paper. Maybe that's what you want, though. I don't know. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll do that just so that I can lift it and it gives a different appearance. Okay, so you can see that that gets a little darker here and there. And again, that's okay. This is in the background. We can blend this out. We can bring that color around. Okay. All right. This painting has actually been sitting for several days. I got sick with the flu, so I set it aside. I set a lot of stuff aside. To my brother, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. I actually intended on sending you a birthday card that had a small 4x6 painting in it, but I got sick, so I didn't finish it. Be cognizant of where your light source is, and you want to go darker for the shadows areas, lighter where it's catching light. You can do this with tonal value by increasing your pigment load, or a hue or shade that is slightly off from what you're doing. You're noticing that I'm not really going in and rinsing my brush, and that's because I want these colors to just go into one another. I'm not really using any other colors except Cascade Green and the Piedmont. A little bit of highlight on there, so I'm going to rinse my brush now. This is actually one of those like disposable dishcloths. I got it at Dollar Tree. Came in a pack of 2. So I'm going to be using that today, because I can just throw it in the washer when I'm done. What I'm doing now is I'm just lifting off the most minute amount of paint. Maybe a little bit of highlight. Again, it's in the background, so we don't want a lot of detail. Wetting my brush again, going back into the Daniel Smith. I'm avoiding areas that I just recently painted because I don't want one leaf color to bleed into another leaf color. One thing that I do, and the reason why I tend not to mix my colors up in the palette before I paint, is because if you look in nature, a lot of times each individual leaf has its own little characteristics, has maybe its own color. Maybe one is a shade off from another one. Maybe it's got a little brown or yellow in it. So I want my stuff, my creations, to be varied like Mother Nature. because I like Mother Nature. Mother Nature is good. Combine Mother Nature with the great creator, whether you call the great creator God or any other name. Can I wet my brush a little bit here? All the same entity. All the same. We shouldn't fight over what we're going to call the creator. We shouldn't fight over whether the creator is male or female. Maybe the creator is neither. Maybe the creator created male, female. Who knows? Who knows? I always found it silly how people get so angry at other people for having a difference of opinion about what to call the creator. I think the creator changes to what's comfortable and acceptable to the person he or she is speaking to. I think that's why we've got so many different versions and so many cultures. It's because of that. And that's not a bad thing. Okay, we're going to blend out this little dark a little bit to give the illusion that that leaf is coming and bending over a little bit. Okay. So I'm good with that. I know that topic was a little off topic of what I paint, but or what we're doing right here, but honestly, these are the things I think about when I'm painting. All that fuzz there. Let's get that out of there. So I'm in my studio right now, which I call the Fortress of Artitude. Because, you know, Superman, he had his Fortress of Solitude, right? Well, I've got my Fortress of Artitude that I retreat to. And I sit in here and I play some relaxing music. I paint. Sometimes I do computer work in here. Sometimes. Because that's where my Surface Pro is at. I love my Surface Pro. I have used my Surface Pro to draw, to get some preliminary ideas for stuff. When it comes to my floral paintings in watercolor, I do sketch them out on the page first. I don't tend to sketch before I start painting my florals. I want my flowers to decide. I don't want it predestined, if that makes any sense. But I do sketch out the flowers on the watercolor paper. Now, a lot of traditional watercolor artists will tell you that that's against the rules. You shouldn't do that. Sketching on the paper will ruin the paper. By the way, this is 100% cotton paper. This is Arches. It's 140 pound, 100% pure cotton. And when I sell stuff, I use this, or I use a different cotton rag for the smaller ones, because those are fun to turn into cards. And my husband, Rowdy, shout out, gave me for Christmas a wonderful, wonderful gift. He got me a Cricut Explorer. Yeah, I think it's the Explorer 3. Anyways, he ordered it directly from Cricut for me after I purchased one from Amazon that turned out to have been bricked because it was reported lost or stolen at some point. And I only found that out because I couldn't get it to connect. So I called Cricut and spoke to a supervisor. He was super, super polite, told me what happened, and then he gave me a coupon to purchase one from the Cricut website. That's totally great customer service, and it's so refreshing because so many companies just lack customer service these days. So I was so happy, but I still couldn't afford to get another one after having spent money on this one. Fortunately, the seller was very scrupulous, very ethical, said they didn't know that it had been bricked, and refunded my money. But my husband had already bought me a Cricut. So, that just meant I took the money that was refunded to me and I spent that on more art supplies because I love doing this. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm still going through treatment, not chemo or, anything like that. That's done. And I'm really hoping that stays in the past because chemo's rough. If you're going through cancer, you have a loved one going through cancer, cut yourself some slack, cut them some slack. It's not fun. It's actually quite inhumane. I don't know. There were times I hit a wall and thought, it would be more humane for me just to put me down than to continue the treatment. But I've got a great support network with my husband, my mom, my dad, my sis. She's not my sis by blood. She's my brother's wife, but I tend not to call her sister-in-law. I tend to call her sis. There were a lot of late night texts with her, and I don't know that I would have gotten through it without the late night texts to my sis, my mom, and some of the breakdowns that I had that my husband helped pull me out of. Sounds kind of harsh, but he would hold me for a little bit because my breakdowns always happened at night, and it's usually on the bathroom floor. He'd come in and he'd hold me for a little bit and tell me everything's okay, but after a while, he'd tell me, you know what, you need to get up off the floor. You need to go to bed. This isn't you. You're a fighter. Stop talking like you want to quit. The goalpost is in sight. So if you're going through cancer, you know anybody going through cancer, I would like to send you well wishes, prayers sent to the heavens for you, that you or your loved one makes it through with grace and with dignity, which can be hard to do. Okay, we're going to work on these up here in the foreground now. And we're going to give them a little bit more pigment load, but keep in mind, this is just one layer. So we're going to have some streakiness. We're going to have some white spots. And honestly, you want some streaks. You want some white spots. You want those breaks. Okay, because just think back. Have you ever looked at a leaf or a flower in nature and it's absolutely perfectly pigmented? I mean, the color is 100% uniform throughout the entire object, to the point there's no variation in tone, hue, there's no little streaks, no other little foreign colors coming in. And be honest, have you seen anything like that? I haven't. I've seen a lot of AI crap that's like that. I like AI and I don't like AI. So I do have Ray-Ban Meta glasses because honestly, they make my life easier. My real job, I have to go out and drive throughout the county. And the county I work for is the size of Connecticut, the state of Connecticut. That's how big it is. So I'm on the road a lot, and if anybody takes offense to this, sorry, not sorry, but I do not like people who text and drive, hold their phones while they drive, because I've had so many near misses with folks like that. So I do not like it. Therefore, I am not going to do it. So my Ray-Ban Meta glasses will allow me to hear a text come in. If it's through, it reads it if it's in my favorite contacts. I'm not endorsing. I'm just blabbering. And then I can respond with my voice to send a text back. And sometimes I don't even do that, because if I'm in heavy traffic, even doing that can be distracting. And, well, I still have chemo brain, so sometimes concentration can be very difficult for me. So sometimes I don't even do that. But anyways, back to the AI thing. I know that people can use AI and create works of art. And that's great. If that's what you're into, that's great. It's not what I'm into. I feel this is more organic. And I just feel this keeps us in touch with our human side and with nature. Because look, just look at human history. Cave paintings, pictographs, petroglyphs. I mean, humans were creating art from the dawn of the human age. Mathematics is art. Music is art. So I just find something so artificial about AI art. Yes, it looks beautiful and it looks so real, unless you're one of these bad AI artists that are on Facebook. They say, look, this buffalo just crashed through my living room window, and the window shatters before the buffalo gets to the window, and then you see that his hooves are backwards in a couple of frames. I just, I don't know. To me, this is more organic. It puts me in touch with my human side and with nature. Because again, this has been done since time immemorial, really. Our ancestors did it. Okay, we're gonna switch colors now. Now I'm going to go to Daniel Smith Undersea Green. This is a very dark, rich green in watercolor. You always want to do your lights first. So we can see this is a dark green. It's got browns and grays in there. Reminds me of seaweed. And I've only seen seaweed a couple times because there is no ocean in Arizona. And, well, I haven't traveled outside Arizona too much, really. I don't feel the need to. I love Colorado. I love it. I like to go to Mesa Verde. I love Durango. I love the narrow gauge train from Durango to Silverton and back. Farmington, last time I was there, was so pretty. So, yeah, not a whole lot of experience on beaches and stuff, but I've been there a couple times, and this color just reminds me of the seaweed that wrapped around my ankle on Catalina Beach. It made me think I was being attacked by, I don't know, shark, jellyfish. I didn't know what it was, didn't care. I just wanted out of that water and away from it. Screamed, ran out. Beachgoers were laughing. Yeah. Not my finest moment. It's quite funny. Let everybody at the beach know that right there is not a beach girl. That's an ocean girl. She's screaming for no reason. Yep. That's okay. I actually like making people laugh, so I was good with it. It was a good laugh. I don't blame them for laughing at me. Go with when I'm not a teacher, full disclosure, I'm just learning myself, but just to show you what I'm doing, I try to do my brush strokes to follow the contours or shape that I'm painting. Because how the paint flows, if it's a little streaky, that's actually going to add to your shadows and your details. Okay, so my paint's getting a little thin there with pigment, so we're just going to add a little more on top here, where that leaf is kind of bending over. I do a little bit of dark along these edges here, because they're curled down a little bit. Down here, it's curled down towards the stem, so let me get a little bit of a shadow in there. A little bit of a shadow on the tip, because like I said, just curling down. Okay, that side's done for now. Go back over here to this side. Again, undersea green with Daniel Smith. I watch a lot of Bob Ross. His voice it's so calming and encouraging. And I like the way he says, make up little stories. And I kind of do that when I'm painting. So I'm like, this little leaf is curling this way. This little leaf's curling this way. He's waving. He's waving at some friends back there in the background. Oh, we're gonna do that. If you're new to watercolors and you want to get into it, I did not start out with Daniel Smith. I started out with Grabby on from Amazon. And when I decided I liked it, that's when I started looking at more professional paints. I got Rosa Gallery. It's made in the Ukraine. They're very good paints. Very good quality. It's hard to get them though. Amazon frequently runs out. And I had those in a pan. And I thought, I want to try some in the tube. And I started doing research, and there's these glowing reviews about Daniel Smith, Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton Cotman is the student grade. So you can always go from something like Grabby, even Crayola. Even Crayola is good to start out with. But you could go from any of your basic starters to a student grade, which is going to be less expensive than your professional grade, and still be good. The one thing I would suggest that made a huge difference with my paintings is make sure you're using good quality paper. Good quality paper. Legion, Stonehenge by Legion watercolor paper is really good. I've tried their hot press, cold press. This is cold press before I got into arches, because while I was painting and having fun, I wasn't getting some of the blooms that I wanted to get. The blending wasn't as smooth. Having trouble with drying times. So I went to the Stonehenge by Legion, got it off Amazon, very, very reasonably priced. And I was just blown away by how my art turned out. Same paints, same technique, but it was just hands down so much more refined, and my experience was just so much better. I mean, I didn't look at my painting as I was painting it and be thinking, why does it look so stiff, so flat? And again, I'm not endorsing any of these. I'm just telling y'all what I've used. As I said earlier, I break the rules of watercolor. I'm not a purist, obviously. When it comes to watercolor, oops, almost went in my clean water there. So I think if you want to do art, just do it. Just create. Just create. And do what's comfortable. And comfort comes down to your style, your technique, but also your materials. Okay? So if painting gives you joy and you're on an extreme budget, which I totally get, when you're in cancer treatment, it's all about budget. It really is, because you can't show up to your treatment day and be like, yeah, no, I can't afford that treatment. So sorry, I can't afford it. And I may relapse, and boy, would that be super expensive. No. You gotta keep to your budget. Gotta keep to your budget. You know, as artists, we struggle. The term starving artist should not be taken lightly. That's why I have a full-time job. I tell people I have a full-time job so I can support my habit. And then when they look at me funny, I start telling them how many tubes of watercolor paint I have. And now I'm getting into acrylics because I like doing landscapes as well. It takes me into another world. I enjoy the pines. I enjoy the mountains. If you're not familiar with Arizona and you think we're all desert, think again. Within a matter of hours, I can be in the pines. And actually, from where I live, I can be in the pines within minutes. So Arizona's not all desert. Don't fool yourself. From any location in Arizona, you can be in the pines or in the desert. Just, short drive. Okay. So this is going well. Keep in mind, this is not the final coat, not the final glaze, not the final layer on this. Not by a long shot. Okay, I'm not picking up enough pigment. And it's because I allowed my brush to dry out too much. That's the other thing in Arizona. Watercolors can be so difficult because our climate most of the time is so dry. So everything dries super, super fast. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Acrylics, I'm finding, yeah, acrylics dry fast. So I made a Stay Wet palette. I saw one on Amazon. I was like, I'm going to buy that. It's $30. I'm going to buy that. And then I saw some YouTube videos where people are like, yeah, don't spend money on stuff like that. Just make your own. But sometimes making your own isn't all that convenient. You'd rather buy one. Again, it's up to you. It's all what makes you happy. It's all what you're comfortable with. Okay, so I got a little bit of a shadow over here on this side so that the leaf isn't flat. It's curving this way, but we're also curving out this way from our main vein right here. And you can see the difference in the color from from doing this glaze here. And there's my dog. Just, yeah, she's not happy. She's not happy. I forgot to spray my palette too, by the way. Giving your palette a little spritz is good because it allows your pigment to activate. So, excuse me, one. I like using this fine mist. I'm lazy. Spray the trigger one time and just it's fine mists. Fine mist. Okay. So you can feel it, and if it feels a little cool, it's still wet. This is still a little cool. If my hair got into the video, I'm so sorry. I didn't do anything with it today. Okay, I'm going to try to go back in that leaf though, so that this video doesn't end up being hours long. Now I'm going to go in here with some sap green. Now, sap green is lighter in tone than the undersea green. It's just because I want to give it that healthy rose leaf look, you know, not the pressed between the pages, dried for a few years look. So now we've got 3 different greens on here. Let's go back into that sap green. She's fading out on me there. Go back in it for this down here. And I'm just going to blend it upward. Blend it upward, keeping with the contours of the leaf. Here we go. I like bold colors too, so I know I talk about how nature isn't exact and precise, and yet I go outside of nature with the colors. Okay. We're going to let that side dry. And I might put some green appetite. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But I may put some of that on there as a final layer. Okay, that's my dog. That's my dog. She just really hates it if she feels like someone else is getting attention and she's not. She's fine. She's in the living room. She's got Samsung TV, a dog channel on, which she's supposed to be watching so she can learn how good dogs behave and maybe stop begging for food and whatnot. I don't know. You guys are like, really? You expect your dog to watch TV and learn from it? Well, my dog learned how to open up the doors in the house by watching us do it. So I don't expect her to learn from TV, but boy, would it be nice. My hair's falling out. That's part of my treatment. I lost all my hair during chemo, and now I'm on all of these different hormone blockers because I have a very aggressive cancer that feeds off of estrogen. So what do those treatments do? Yeah, they make your hair fall out, make your hair thin. So I'm hoping it doesn't all fall out because I just got my color back. When it came back, my hair was baby soft and white. It's like sterling silver almost. And while the change of color was nice, it did age me. I'm 51, by the way. I'll be 52 this year. So was very lucky growing up. My mom is an artist. So is my dad. My dad does a lot of wood. He is an artist when it comes to woodworking and, you know, designing stuff. When I got married, his wedding gift was a handmade desk with a butcher block top, and it's all sealed so that, you know, damage from the sun and whatnot is minimized, and it is gorgeous. And my mom, she's an artist, paints, drawing, sketching, decorating cakes, upholstery. She's just, yeah. So anyways, back to when I was growing up. My parents encouraged, I had to get some more moisture on my brush. My parents really encouraged creativity. And I loved office supplies growing up. Oh my gosh. I had a paper, a pen, paints, oil pastels, charcoals, all that good stuff. I loved it all. And my mom and my dad would buy me art supplies. And my mom and I would paint and draw. And those are some of my fondest childhood memories. That and camping and fishing, because I think I already mentioned, I love being out in nature. I love it. A bad day in nature beats a good day indoors or at the office in any lifetime. That's just the way it is. For me, anyways. So yeah, my mom really encouraged me to draw and paint, and I set it down when I was in high school. Picked up photography. Never really went back to it until I was in chemo, and it really helped me relax and kind of be calm when I was in chemo. So here we are. That also reminds me, when you're painting, have your water here. My cup I'm drinking, cheers, from is more than an arm length away. So I have to lean and grab it. I do that for a reason. That brings me to another funny story. So when I was a kid, one of my favorite activities on a nice summer, spring, fall day, not that we have that many seasons where I live, I like to go out in the driveway where we lived on a street called, that was named Mesquite Street, just down from a grade school. But anyways, I like to go out there because the rocks in the driveway, part of the driveway was concreted, the other part was gravel, but the gravel were rocks ranging in size from that to, that, and they were nice, smooth rocks. Oh, I loved taking my watercolors out there and painting those rocks. And my parents didn't care because it was watercolor and it was rocks, and they knew it rains and all those bright purple and pink and blue rocks would just go right back to the gray they were before. But I was out there one day, my grandma, my Nana, she was over, and I was watercolor painting. And I can't remember if I was outside painting rocks or if I was inside. But I had two cups. They look the same. Back then, this was the 70s, so we had Blue Bonnet margarine, and it would come in a cup kind of similar to this size, plastic cup, and they had these little boop, boop, bridges on the side there. Anyways, I had one for water for my watercolors. I had another one that had Kool-Aid in it. Okay, I think you know what's coming. There's little Heather out there just happily painting with the family dog, Tippy. If I was outside, Tippy was usually around. That was our Labrador Springer Spaniel mix. That was a great dog. I miss him. Anyways, I'm dunking my brush and, really getting all that paint going. So that water was highly contaminated with watercolor. Non-toxic, child-friendly watercolor. Okay? We're going to curve it a little like this because our leaf is curving and we're going to go down. All right. So there I am, dipping it in there. That watercolor water was dark. And then I got thirsty. So watercolor, paint, drink, right? Yeah. Well, just so happens, got a little too much water here. I grabbed the wrong cup. Took a drink. Immediately realized that wasn't Kool-Aid. And just started screaming that I'd killed myself. I was going to die. I just poisoned myself with my watercolor water. My life was over. My short little life was it was done. Absolutely done. So, and I really thought that being a kid. I really did. I really thought that. So now, as an adult painting, there can be some stuff in my watercolors that you don't want to ingest it. So I keep my cup far away so I don't do this by accident, because like I told you, my concentration, not the best these days. Not the best. So that's something you may want to keep in mind. But if you don't keep it in mind, film when you're painting. And if it happens to you where you drink out of the wrong cup, you'll have it on film. It'll be there for prosperity, so everybody can get a good laugh. All right, I'm going to rinse my brush off completely. Over here, very gently dry it off. Okay, so you can see it's dry. It's not even barely damp. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to take some of this paint off. Actually, I don't want to take that paint off, so let's kind of squish it back over there. This is the paint I want to take off right here. Okay, rinse the brush, get the paint out of it, dry it off on that cloth there, and we're just gonna go right there. Boom, boom. There's my highlight. I come over here. This may have dried a little too fast. Let's see. Nope. It didn't dry fast enough. So yeah, I can still go back, take a little bit off of there to create a highlight. So there we go. Got a little highlight to show that she's curving. Okay, dry brush still. We're gonna just dry brush a little shadow here on the edge of this highlight, just to show that she's really curved. There you go. Okay. Now we're gonna go right up here And notice I didn't do the undersea green on this one. Okay, I went straight into sap green for this one. So there's our little leaf vein. I'm going to go back into here. Do some little shadows. She's curling down. And sometimes when you do a dry brush, the shadow, see how it gets those little lines there? Sometimes I really like that. Makes the leaf look rough, you know, for her veins. And now we've got just a little bit of pigment on here. I'm just going to go over these little smaller veins here. I also like adding these lines with the ink. It tells you where, how the leaf or the flower or the petal, what direction it's going in, how it's bending. Okay, just a tad bit of water on the tip of my brush here. I'm going to smooth out that vein a little bit because I want this to look like it's got a little bit of a crease right where that vein is. A little crease or a ridge, whichever. Okay. All right. So we can see that these two leaves are completely different, and yet it's obvious that they're on the same stem there. Okay. I'm gonna get some moisture on the brush, a tad bit of phthalo green. Phthalo green blue shade is what this is. So this is a very, very cool temperatured color. This is the stem. I don't know what you're thinking. That looks very unnatural. And you're right. Absolutely does. Okay. Oh, by the way, this is a Princeton Neptune travel brush, size 8, that I'm using. And you can see, even with a size 8, it's got this nice little tip here. See that tip? I'm doing this for 2 reasons. I'm getting some excess moisture off of here and forming my tip. I hope you can see that. See that tip? It's really sharp. So the thing I want to demonstrate here is that you can have a big brush with a fine tip on it, and with minimal pressure, you can actually achieve some very fine lines and details. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my Piedmont Genuine, and we're going to tone down that phthalo green. I'm going to get a little bit moisture. I took a little too much moisture off the tip of that. I'm going to take this paint, this pigment, and I'm going to make it flow down. Make it flow downwards. And as we make that Piedmont flow downwards, that pigment load lightens. Again, watercolors are transparent, so you can make your color on the paper. Okay? All right. So we have that luminous green underneath with that brownish, orangish, reddish color. And to me, that just makes the perfect stem for it. Okay, we're going to rinse brush. Now my water in my rinse cup's getting polluted, so we're going to give it a good rinse in the rinse water and get the excess moisture off of it because I don't want a whole lot of moisture at this point. Now this leaf looks a little dull. So let's liven it up with some green appetite. Appetite? I don't know. I just don't know. So we're just gonna start here in the shadow areas with this. Moisten the brush a little bit. I didn't rinse my brush. I just moistened it in the rinse cup. See, we're just gonna kind of take that excess pigment there, bring it down a little bit. Now I'm really gonna get a lot of moisture in my brush here. It's not dripping. See, it's not dripping. I'm gonna go back to that green apatite. Okay. Again, avoiding that little highlight area. And go in here on that all the way to the vein. Just like that. And I've got lots of moisture on my brush, so we're just gonna take that and blend it right up into that little highlight area there. Here we go. There we go. There. There. That leaf looks, it's gonna look happier. It's gonna look happier now. Take a little bit more of the green apatite and a higher pigment load or concentration on my brush. Load that tip up to get that in there. Okay. Rinse my brush. Rinse. All right. I'm going to go into that Piedmont. And because this leaf looks like she might be drying out a little bit, we're going to add some Piedmont right here. Okay, we're just going to drop it into this wet here. There we go. Go up the vein a little bit. Go up around here. We just have a little bit of that color that you sometimes see in a rose leaf. There we go. Let's do a little splotch over here, because sometimes it's just kind of random. There. Okay. All right, let's switch things up a little bit for this leaf. This leaf, I'm going to use some jadeite, genuine. Again, Daniel Smith, that's what I'm working off of today. And we can see the jadeite has, it's a beautiful green, by the way. Oh my gosh, I love this color for evergreens, especially blue spruce trees. Ugh. Okay. So we can see it gives it a completely different color and hue in there. And that's okay. That's okay. Because this is a different leaf. Even though it's a different leaf, and this is just a base color, again, just a base color, even though this is on the same stem, it's a different leaf. It's different. He's got his friends over here. His two friends are a little different. But hey, if all we have are friends that are exactly like us, how boring would the world be? Our lives would just be so boring. So, embrace differences. We embrace dogs that have separation issues. She's getting going. All right. Again, this is just our base layer, okay? So we don't have to go with the flow of the leaf yet. Oh, she's really getting wound up out there. Woo! All right, so we've got our jadeite. I think I'm going to do, yeah, the green apatite next. And you can see I really loaded my brush up. Really loaded it up. I've already signed this work too. So you may have noticed that. Okay. So we're just going to come down in here. Okay. We left that big shadow there. And that's okay because you can blend outward from that. Watercolors are good for that. They're also notoriously difficult to work with because of that. So we're just going to lightly go over that little highlight there. Boom. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. I actually like the way that shadow went in there. I'm going to drop some more pigment in here because I like the way that shadow came in so much that I just like the look. I'm going to model it up a little bit here. Model it up. Okay. I'm going to go back in. Heavy pigment load on my brush. And we're just following that center vein. Again, in that green apatite. Okay. Start to give this leaf a little dimension here. Now, if you're trying to get shadows in your work and you're doing watercolor, let it dry. Let your painting completely dry. And then go back with the same color, a little heavier load on your brush, and work your shadows in. It'll look more natural that way. That's how I did this. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, he looks pretty good there. Let's just kind of go in here. Got a little bit of pigment on my brush here. We're just going to kind of follow these little contour lines here. There we go. Okay. I'm going to come over here. I want this to be a little darker, so I'm just going to pick up some moisture on my brush. I'm not going to clean it because I'm going to use the green apatite again. Excuse me. Just going to start down here at the bottom. Come out from this vein a little bit. And we're just going to spread that into the highlight. Like that. Just giving that leaf some texture. Okay. Texture can be hard to achieve with watercolor. So if you paint with watercolor, practice, practice, practice. You'll get it. You'll get it. Okay. Do the same here. I'll load up my brush. It's not quite as damp as it was before. And we're gonna just kind of go in here and just very, very lightly do this very, very lightly. It's pretty much a dry brush at this point. Doesn't look like I'm doing much, I know, but it's there. It's there. Camera may not pick it up, but it's there. Okay. Dry brush. Barely getting any pigment on there. I'm just gonna moisten the very tip just a tiny bit. There we go. There we go. That's better. Well, that's more what I want. Okay. I know I'm choked up on the brush quite a bit. That may not be comfortable for you. If it's not comfortable, don't do it. A lot of artists will hold the brush back here, but when I'm doing watercolor painting and I'm doing these little details, I really do choke up on the brush. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm actually happy with that leaf. Not so much this one. To me, it still looks flat. This is not loose water painting. Loose water painting is where loose tends to be a lot of wet on wet. So your paper is wet and your paint is very juicy. Your brush is very juicy and you get a lot of dispersion in there, which is where the blurriness and those buttery blends come in. And I like to have some detail in my stuff. Doesn't look just like a photograph, but I most certainly want it to be a little more representative of what's out there in nature. Okay. Just going like that. And not all my lines are perfect. That's okay. And I'm not going to do every single little vein here. I just want to do a couple. Just to give it the impression. Okay. All right. I'm going to leave my leaves alone for now. When you're done with your brush, rinse it really well. Be very gentle with your brushes for watercolor. Dry it with a nice absorbent shop towel, tea towel, soft washcloth, what have you. Make sure you form your tip. I like these travel brushes because, as you can see, they come apart, so I don't have to worry about damage to that. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of work with a technical pen. This is my Rotring Rapidograph. One thing I don't like about these is the caps don't fit on the top. Rotring, if you work for Rotring, you're watching this, hey, pass that along. Okay, so we see this stem here. It's flat. It's very flat. There's no depth to it. Looks a little fake. So we're just going to come in here. We're going to scratch. It's called hatching. I call it scratching because that's the sound it makes. Just going to scratch some lines in here. Okay. So we've scratched some lines in here. An easy way to make a stick branch look rounded is just do some little sideways commas here and there, like this. That's an easy way to do it. As I said before, I like stippling. So I'm going to come in here. And all of this is stippled. There's some shading, stippling going on here because, you know, again, light source. Okay. All right. Stippling can be tedious. This isn't as fine of a pen as I usually use for stippling, but it's okay. It works. So we're just doing some little stipple lines, and I call them lazy commas because they're upside down. It's like half U shapes. Yeah, that's it. Half U shapes. Okay. So just kind of this I'm going to completely stipple in here because it's a ridge. It's a ridge in the stem. So we're gonna stipple that in. There we go. Okay. Our main focus is the rows here, so that's what we want to really be drawing the attention, is the rows, not the stem. So we're not going to put a lot of detail on this stem, just enough so that this stem does not appear flat. I'm going to go into some of these little scratches, these hatches that I made, and add a little bit of stippling on the right side. Just kind of shows that we have some ridges or indentations on there. Okay. All right. Okay, so that showed you some of the line work that I do in these. This is a 0.35. I like working with a finer tipped pen though. My finer tipped pens would be 0.25, 0.2, 0.1. This is one of the Mars Stadlers that I just got off of eBay. I'm not sure what color ink. Oh, it doesn't even have a nib in it. Okay, well, we're not using that one, are we? No, we're not. Okay. I'll get one of my Koh-i-Noors out. This has got black ink in it. I like the Koh-i-Noors because they're very fine, very, very fine tips. So even though the others say they produce the same lines, believe it or not, there is a slight difference that I can see. So the problem with Koh-i-Noor super fine lines is sometimes these pens clog it. You gotta maintain them. These pens are like, they're super, super maintenance intensive. Okay. And if you don't use them for a while, yeah, they dry up. So if you want to get into using these, just be prepared. Maintenance on them. Maintenance sounds fairly easy if you've got a gentle hand. It's not hard. But again, you gotta have a gentle hand because there's a cleaning wire in there. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Oh, my mic's over here on me. So there's a little piston in here. So here, I'll show you guys. So in this part of the pen, there's a little weight and on it is a very fine wire, and that fine wire goes down to about here. It's called the cleaning wire. And as it goes up and down, it keeps this super fine hollow wire nib from clogging up. The problem is that your ink can congeal in here and it gets around that fine wire. And then, you know, it's pretty much toast. It clogs. So then you've got to take this nib off of, you got to separate it from the sleeve and the reservoir. And they don't want you to take the nib apart. They say it's not recommended. No manufacturer recommends that. But if it's really clogged, that's what you have to do. And when you buy these off of eBay, most of the time when you're buying old stock, used stock, you're going to have to take it apart and you're going to have to clean it. I found the best cleaning solution to clean these all out. This was horribly, horribly clogged when I got it. I thought it was completely dead. Is going to be water. The Dawn Platinum spray, just squirt some into the water, and a little drop of 70% alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. Don't leave it in overnight. That alcohol will eat and damage the plastic. And if you're taking your nib apart and you're taking that cleaning wire with the weight out of the nib, you want to have that piece in a separate small dish with nothing else in it but your cleaning solution. Because if that wire in there gets bent, yeah, it's game over. You can try to straighten it, and I have straightened them, but they just never work as well if you straighten it. Okay, so right now I'm going in and we're just going to add some texture to this little guy. I forget what he's called, but it's when the rose is closed. When the rose is just a bud and it's closed, and you've got these, they're green. They encapsulate the petals. So we're just gonna go in here. I've done some depth work with just the paint, but it's very subtle. I want to add some more in here, and this is black ink. The black ink that I use is Kohinoor Rapid Draw. It's a latex base drawing ink. It's waterproof, works well with the technical pens. The other one I use is the Kohinoor Rapidograph Universal Ink. It's also waterproof, really good ink. You can get the drawing ink in a variety of colors, and I have drawing ink in sepia and some red violet, because I've become addicted to these pens and I have so many. So I want to be able to have the different colors for my different needs as far as my painting goes. I will not be using these in my acrylic painting, because the texture of a canvas, even sanded, is just going to wreak havoc on these pens. And these pens are hard to get. The Kohinoor on Amazon, super duper expensive. I mean, like 40 plus bucks for one pen. Goodness gracious. So I try to get mine from Amazon. Sometimes I find new old stock. Most of the time it's used. There's a couple of vendors that will actually take care to clean it before it's sent to you. Read the description. There is one vendor I highly recommend. I would have to look at my phone, so I'll have to do that in another video. But when she sends stuff out and when she posts it, she'll tell you the piston is freely moving, or this is strictly for parts. And when she says it's strictly for parts, That's because the cleaning wire is missing in the finer tipped pens, like the 0.25, 0.20, and finer. It's actually a filament for the cleaning wire, and that filament dissolves. It dissolves over time. So if that particular vendor says it is for parts only, she truly means it. It is for parts only. And I am so grateful to her for her descriptions, because it has saved me a lot of money from buying sets of pens that are useless. And now all I have is a barrel and the sleeve and a reservoir. Reservoirs are super hard to find. So sometimes I'm just like, whatever, I've got the reservoir now, because I have pens with no reservoirs. So now I have plenty of reservoirs. And some of these pens are interchangeable, like that one I just showed you, this Marsmatic. Yeah, this one can take a Kohinoor nib. Okay, so if you do decide to venture into these, excuse me, my throat's getting dry. Check out eBay. That's where you're going to find the nibs. And if you buy these pens and they are used, I do recommend, if you can find some spare nibs that you can afford, buy them at the same time. Because if you can't clean these up and get them into good use, then at least you have a nib there, and your excitement of using that pen and creating with it is not gone. Right here, what I'm doing is I'm using a stippling method again, just to punch in my shadows a little bit more to give it a little more depth. You see that shadow right there? Yep. Okay, that helps to give this petal some shape. We're just going to go in and we're just going to lightly stipple. And I like stippling. Some people like hatching. I've tried hatching. I am not good at it. I am just not good at it. Okay, for me, it's like shooting with your left hand when you're right-handed. It's too hard, and I don't want to dedicate the time to learn to do it. I'm lazy like that, and that's okay. It's perfectly okay if you're lazy like that. So yeah, I really like the stippling better. It works better for me than the hatching. Maybe I have a heavy hand. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It does not matter. If somebody tells you, oh, you should be hatching and not stippling, you should be stippling and not hatching, don't even worry about that. Don't worry about that. What works for them may not work for you. What works for you and makes you happy, that is the only thing that matters. So when you make art for yourself. Make art for yourself. I do. This is my hobby, but I do sell so that I can support my habit. So I do have eBay, Gift in the Shadows, and Etsy. Etsy, I gotta post. I gotta get more for sale up there. But make yourself happy. And then if you sell them and you make a few bucks so that you can buy more supplies, woohoo, yippee. If you don't, then hey, you've got art that you like. You've got art that you like. And you know what else is great about art is that you can give it as gifts to people. They're never going to have anything like it. Never going to have anything like it. Because it really is unique. If you sell your art and you use a drawing from another artist, make sure that you give them credit. So this particular piece was inspired by Liesel Art Studios. She did a tutorial on rose drawing, just because I was finding my roses not to be of my particular liking a whole lot. So this rose is not exactly like hers, I took a lot of artistic freedoms with it, but it was her basic teaching of drawing and painting a rose that I took from. So, Liesel Art Studios, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. If you're watching, thank you so much for the inspo, and your dedication in teaching others is awesome. There's a lot of people on YouTube that you can look to that will do little tutorials. If you're looking to get into art, I suggest you watch as many of them as you can. Okay, folks. Well, that's it for today. That was actually longer than what I anticipated. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, subscribe. It helps me on YouTube get my videos out there. And the more exposure I can get for my work, the more I can move towards selling pieces and hopefully retiring from my county full-time job, which is a 10-hour a day, 4-day a week job. So I am pretty well exhausted come Thursday, let me tell you. And I know today's not Thursday, it's Friday, but Friday is my off day. So thank you all so much for sticking with me this far in the video. Appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you all have a very peaceful day and week. And I hope God blesses you with good health and the ability to support you and your family. And this is my rose. I have not named it yet. If you guys have suggestions for names, pop them in the comments. If you like what I did and you want to see more, pop it in the comments. I love comments. I will try to reply to each and every comment. Love you guys. As always, live long and prosper. Bye-bye.